Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Love Fruit podcast. We have another great guest today, one of our first actual live interviews in person. We do a lot of these online, but we're here in Koh Phangan, Thailand, and really glad to be joined with a friend I've known for many years, Louise Koch from Denmark. And Louise goes under the name FruityLou, or obviously just under Louise or Koch online, from Denmark originally. And has done many things in her life. She's been involved in television work, she's ran a fruit festival, she's done a lot of coaching, online courses to help people around the world, run events and retreats, hosted other, helped out at the UK Fruit Festival with hosting and different things, and spoken at other events. So someone who's got a lot of experience and knowledge and knows a lot of the ins and outs of this lifestyle and has helped a lot of people with it. So really, if this is the first time, I'm glad to introduce you to Louise if you've not heard of her before.
Thank
So
you.
Louise, is there anything else you would like to say to the audience, just as an introduction to yourself?
Well, maybe that I've been on a mostly raw, high fruit diets for 10 years. Like, it's
Yeah.
a long time I've been eating differently.
Yeah.
And but we'll probably get into that way
Sure.
more.
Part of that lifestyle for you as well, I guess, is coming to places like this. Is that right? Do you find it a better environment for yourself?
Oh, for sure. So right now we're in Thailand, and it's just amazing here. It's so much easier to stay raw when it's nice weather. But yeah, I definitely get away from the cold in Europe when the fruit quality goes down.
So let's get into your story a little bit. Everyone's got usually quite a big story, but how did you end up on this kind of very alternative diet lifestyle? Go back to the start for us. Were you brought up like this,
Okay.
or healthy in any way?
Not at all. I was raised on a standard Danish diet, meaning I ate white bread with jam for breakfast and rye bread with ham and cheese for lunch, and probably rice with chicken or spaghetti bolognese or something for dinner, and lots of candy and cake and
Sounds
parents.
familiar to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I was 1, I had the usual children's vaccines, and I developed eczema. So I got hormonal creams for that.
Right.
All my life, basically, I had hormonal creams. And as a child, I was just generally always ill with a little bit here and there, like not super ill, but just an ear infection or a big abscess, or just infections and ailments and sore throat, or the flu or something. And then I later started traveling as a tour guide, so I partied like crazy. I was drinking so much alcohol. I was even an Ibiza tour guide,
Oh,
like
were
in
you?
Ibiza,
Oh,
and
wow.
ski tour guide in Austria.
Oh wow.
Lanzarote in Greece and everything. So I had a lot of fun, and
Right.
my liver was having fun as well, but maybe too much fun.
Sure.
And so I was feeling pretty healthy at the time. Then we go a little bit further. I went to study at a university in England, studied television production and graphic design and stuff like that,
Sure.
like media. And the exams and everything was super stressful. So at the end of it, I started to have a lot of health issues. Like I was surviving on cake, candy, sodas, chocolate.
Student kind of diet.
Yeah, totally student. And everything was just kind of going the wrong way. My eczema was crazy,
Right.
and I was getting tired, and but then I got back to Denmark, started in television, and it's like you work short contracts, and it's super stressful, and you work way too many hours, and so I started to stress a lot. And this is where my health really started to decline. Like, I was developing all these little ailments, and one day I woke up and I was like almost paralyzed. And it felt like I was hit by a train.
Oh wow.
My body had just said, no more, I've had enough, and I couldn't get out of bed, and I couldn't get up to brush my teeth, and like it was like a shock basically from stress. I'd broken down from stress.
Right.
And it took a week, I got back at work, but ever since then I started to have anxiety attacks, like fear and just social phobia, and it got worse and worse and worse. So I started to see a shrink and went to school of phobia. I couldn't work for 1.5 years. And then all the health issues came along with that. So I would get like severe low back pain. My adrenals were burned out I had 7 years of anxiety and fear. And with this hormonal cream on top, like my adrenals were just burned out completely. And I would, just try to keep myself going with energy drinks and sugar. And I would get like gout in my toes, severe candida everywhere, sleeping problems, edemas, just more and more little things like food intolerances that would make it a lot. And at the end, I was sitting at discotheques. I couldn't, I didn't have the energy to dance. Yeah. And then I started to get all yellow. Basically, my liver had enough. Right. And then it just escalated. I was still working in the television, but at the end I had to quit because my health was so bad. So the doctors, they couldn't really help me. They just said, well, there's nothing wrong on the test. Well, they could see I have a high liver count. Right. But apart from that, they were like, you're in perfect health. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm in terrible health. And my adrenals, they couldn't measure it. They don't have the test in Denmark to measure low adrenal function, only when it's completely non-functioning. Right. And so they just sent me home and said, oh, stress a little bit less and sleep better. And then I had a lot of tests done in the States and everywhere, and they were basically giving a completely different picture. So they said that I was in the worst state ever. It was like saliva test for adrenals, there was pee and poo tests, and in Denmark they only do blood work. So. And these tests said, well, you have way too many bad bacteria in your gut. You're like overgrowth of candida, you might have parasites, you're have so much cell and DNA damage that you're this close to cancer if you don't have it already. Wow. And the doctor said your hormones are like a pensioner, you cannot get children, you're probably infertile at this point. You can only do like very slow exercise like floating in a swimming pool or some yoga.
Where did you get those tests? Is that America you said?
Yeah, so it was a Danish company that got the tests sent over from the States. I see. Yeah, and I was devastated, you know, but it explained what has been going on and a ton of other things those tests said. So basically for a year I tried everything I could think of in terms of like medication and like supplements and just treatments, like any treatment you name it, I've done it.
Right. Holistic alternative.
Yes, everything. Right. Like, and I got, what do you call it, intravenous C vitamin injections. Oh wow, yeah. I took infrared saunas, I did colonics, I did a whole the clock parasite cleanse, what else? I can't remember. There was so many. I even drank hydrogen peroxide. Oh, right. Yeah. It's like in drops. I have a picture of my dining table where I put up all the supplements I took, and it's filling up the whole table. Sure. And that was just some of what I took. So I spent fortunes. I think I had like $15,000 in debt at the time trying to cure myself. Wow. And yeah, so I was pretty desperate, as you can understand, and I was willing to try anything. So as part of this adrenal fatigue group, that I created it. It was completely new in Denmark. This is 10 years ago, and nobody knew what it was, and I just thought these symptoms sounds like me, but I didn't know why I had this. So I found some other people who had the same thing, and they all talked about like medication, and I took hormonal supplements because I couldn't stand up, basically. I had a progesterone production of 0, so I had to take like artificial progesterone just to be able to function. And so some girl in that group, she had started this crazy fruit diet, and she started writing about it. And because I was in charge of this group, I thought, well, I have to moderate what's been said in here, and this sounds really insane.
Yeah.
Eating fruits and vegetables, what's that going to do? I already ate a cucumber and tomato and an apple maybe, so what else would that make a difference? And I'm like, fruit, no, there's too much sugar and it's no protein and all these common misconceptions.
Yep.
And so I basically thought, I gotta bust her. I'm gonna research so much that I can tell her how wrong she is.
Yeah.
And so I started researching, and I read Dr. Graham's book, The 80-10-10 Diet, and I looked at the time, the few videos that were up. And at the end it was like, oh, okay, this actually makes a little bit sense. Okay. And then I had a chat with myself and said, okay, I can't die from eating fruits and vegetables for a while, so why don't I give it a try, and then I can for sure tell her if it works or not, right? And at this point in time, I am bedridden. I cannot go to work. I am sitting at home or lying in bed basically, and my boss at a school I was working at the time, he was about to fire me because I couldn't work, and I couldn't stand up long enough to take a shower or do the dishes, and it was just a nightmare basically. Everything was just pains and aches and so I decided to transition slowly, and I just took first week and changed breakfast, I think, and I had no idea what I was doing. So we'll come back to all the mistakes I made, but I did that and transitioned within a few weeks, and suddenly everything shifted.
Wow.
So it was like going from bedridden to suddenly getting this huge energy boost, and I got out of bed and I started to wash the floor in my living room. I washed the walls in my living room and painted the window sills, and it's like, where did this energy come from? And I was so happy, I was just euphorically happy, wow. And then next, after a couple of weeks, I went into the detox period. So I'd had this good period first, and then serious detox for me came afterwards, because my liver just could not handle the amount of toxins that was suddenly being released, and because it was clogged up basically, it was just flooding my body, and I went into even more fatigue and pains than I had before. But luckily I knew that was just a part of the healing process, so I stuck with it. And it was a really tough period to get through, but I'm so glad I did it, because then after that, just week by week or even month by month, things that I'd had would completely disappear. The anxiety was gone maybe within a few weeks even, or a month, and I'd had that for 7 years. And I was on happy pills and whatever. And it's like, if somebody had told me that 7 years ago, I wouldn't have lost 7 years of my life.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yep.
And that was actually not even with the raw diet. That was just by removing sugar, refined foods, processed foods, chemicals, wheat, dairy, and that made it go away.
So that's 7 years of your life. You ended up in $15,000 worth of debt from all these other things you tried and all the anxiety you went through. It's and no one told you about this. No doctor said anything about changing your diet. Or
never.
Wow,
no.
That's
it
crazy.
Is pretty crazy. Yeah, I think I have a list of 40 or 50 things, big issues and small ailments that I've overcome.
I've seen. I remember you going through a lot of those. You obviously had a lot of things.
A lot, yeah.
I mean, it seems like you went through a real breakdown. I've seen some of the pictures you've shared with me, and of what you looked like then, of what you were saying, of being yellow and complexion and all that stuff. I mean, that's really serious. Was that just, you think, a combination of the stress, the lifestyle beforehand, maybe genetic factors? Have you looked back on that and wondered about that?
I think I know a little bit of what's going on, but I still haven't found out the entire puzzle.
Yeah.
But I do believe that when I got the first children's vaccines, my body responded in a way that it made me histamine intolerant. And so whenever I eat something that's high in histamines, my gut is getting inflamed. And I never knew that, and that's what was causing my eczema.
Right.
And so you're constantly, every day, bombarding your interior.
Right.
And so my digestion system has just been totally like ruined, basically. And then of course the drinking didn't make my liver super happy. Lots of, pharmaceuticals didn't make it super happy. And the stress is probably the worst, because that will shut down the digestion and kill your adrenals and kill your kidneys and everything. So.
I mean, people have talked about that as well with the, a lot of the people are talking now about boosting your immune system, and one of the things that people are talking about is if you're under anxiety and stress, you're in this fight or flight response all the time. How do you counteract? Like, how did you end up helping to relax, or was that just changing your diet helped with that?
Yeah, actually the diet helped a lot, and I also just decided, before I started the diet, I was like in bed and I was thinking, okay, this has to change, because I knew that if I didn't figure something out, I would die. Literally, I would not survive that. My body was in such a bad state. And so I thought, what are my options? Well, I can jump out the window. I live on the first floor. I'm just going to break my legs. I can continue as I am, and that's not going to get me anywhere, or I can just get well. Yeah. And then I just decided to get well, and I was like, I don't know how, but I will. And I just kept that hope and belief, and then I attracted the solution within a few weeks, actually. So I think that helped a lot. Amazing, but I wanted to, your previous question, what else caused this? Because then I was already really tired after the anxiety and everything. But then I got the Gardasil vaccines, the HPV virus ones. And after that, that's when I was bedridden. Right. So the 3 ones that had just come out, and like my body was just not able to handle them at the time. And that was, probably the major thing that put my hormones down. And I've just been able to rebuild everything, so that's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's been an amazing transformation. Yeah.
Probably one of the most dramatic transformations I've seen, actually, from seeing your pictures before. So you found out about it, you started to read about it. What was your process of sort of transitioning towards the kind of lifestyle you're on now, and did it take you some time? Was it something because of where you were at? Was it quite easy for you to make that change, or did it take some time? Did you go back and forth, and how did it all go for you?
Yeah, so in that year where I have been taking all these supplements and medication, I was also trying out various diets. So I did the anti-candida diet, and a diet in Denmark called Super Healthy, and the adrenal fatigue diet. And none of them really did any big changes. The Super Healthy diet was a step in the right direction, but I was already like a bit crazy in other people's eyes because I was eating differently. One week I was like, no, I can't have this, and next week, oh, I can't have that. Right. And so when I started this, they were just, whatever. So I was just so desperate. Yep. I know your motivation is what drives you, and if you're really motivated, you're going to do this full on. So it was fairly easy in that sense. I was like, I just want to get well now, and I'll do whatever it takes. So.
And did you, in that time, did you find any friends, anyone else that was doing it? Were you following people online? How were you getting your inspiration and stuff? Yeah, so of course in that group for adrenal fatigue, there was this girl, so I started to talk to her, and she had some friends, and then I got to know them, amongst others Peter, my really good friend that I did the Fresh Food Festival with for some years. And today we're doing retreats together, so he's a really good long-term friend back then. And I must admit, there wasn't many people at the time, so today we're spoiled. Like, there's so many like-minded people everywhere. If you just gotta look for them, go out there and find them. But I think it was easy because I had such a big motivation. And from there, when did you did that start to naturally change the rest of your lifestyle as well? Did that lead to you changing your job and things and trying to come out here? How did that all happen? Totally. I think once you start this lifestyle or this diet, something shifts within you. So it's almost like
I started to feel myself, and I feel the world around me in a completely different way. And so I just started to read like natural hygiene, about like healthy living, and just thinking, yeah, that makes sense. Why is it that we're doing all these weird things when it's not really what our bodies want? And then one winter I was like, I'm out of here. The fruit was really bad quality, and I just thought, I'm gonna try this exotic thing. And Peter, he was doing it, and so I went to Thailand for the first year, and then every year it's just been longer and longer and longer, because, well, it's pretty nice out here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And so let's ask a few questions for some of the people that are listening. For other people that might be in your situation right now, or the situation you were in, or who are starting out, what kind of tips and advice would you give them to help them along this journey?
I would definitely say start slowly. Just don't go into the all or nothing trap.
Right.
Because I see so many people crush and burn from that.
Yeah, sure.
Like they're saying, oh yeah, we're gonna go raw overnight, and they can't do it. So I normally tell people, just start with like fruit for breakfast, and then just do that for a week, maybe 2, maybe 3 even, until you feel comfortable for that. And at the same time, just lower your fat in the beginning to 0. So, because you might have a lot of fat in your previous diet, and that's going to be in your bloodstream, and that will prevent your insulin from doing its job, you know. So if you suddenly start to eat tons of fruit, you're going to make yourself diabetic, or at least get candida and blood spikes, blood sugar spikes. And so I'd say remove the fat, transition into fruit slowly, make your body be able to keep up. Also, if you do it too quickly, you're going to get a lot of detox. And that's not very nice, and people give up because they don't know what it is, and they're saying, oh, this doesn't work. But it is actually a sign that it's working. So detox could be like pimples, headaches, flu or cold symptoms, especially like digestive symptoms like diarrhea or congestion, bloating, farting. Anything will just change. It's like everything is rearranging itself in the gut, right? And sleeping problems, even like female periods will maybe stop for a month and then come back easier than it ever did. But you just got to be aware of these things, and a lot of people are not. And then I would go and make a green smoothie for lunch when I was ready to step it up. So a green smoothie, on my terms, is just fruit, leafy greens, and water, nothing else. And no syrup, no oils, no avocado, no cucumber, no whatever people put in there. Just fruit, lettuce, and water, and nothing else. And just start really, really slowly, because blended greens are so detoxifying. It's crazy. People have no idea. It's like a super tool. I call it like a super vitamin pill. And so just start with a little bit of a tiny handful of leafy greens, and then each week you step it up more and more. And then you can do 100 grams, 200 grams, maybe 300 grams a day or more, as much as you can, and you will see amazing results, really. And then once you feel really good on the green smoothies, you're not detoxing anymore, then you can step it up and take the next level with fully raw. But what I find is that a lot of people, they can't eat raw at night because emotionally they're not matching the raw foods. So what happens is, like, we wake up super happy and clear, like, and then we start our day and we have some challenges and our mood goes down a little bit and we get a little bit grumpy. We're worrying, we're stressing, and then at the end of the day we're in a lower vibration than when we woke up, and we just cannot attract the raw foods at that time. So when people say they're struggling with eating raw in the evening, it's no wonder. It's like your food matches your mood, and you really have to like keep yourself high during the day if you want to be able to eat raw all the time. So I recommend people taking a nap or meditating like in the afternoon, and then you'll be better at eating raw
Sure,
in the
sure.
evening. But just not stress about your food. Just take it easy, step by step. It might be a process of a month, 2 months,
Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah.
And be kind to yourself and talk kindly to yourself, and don't just go, oh, I'm rubbish, I can't do this, I'm going to give up, it's hard, you know. Just every
Right.
little thing you're doing will be a step in the right direction. And think it like this: if you only ate fruit for breakfast for a month, you ate 33.3% healthier that month than you did the previous month.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And then if you add a little bit more, you know, you might get it to 50% healthier next month than the previous month, and so forth. So just look at the little things you're doing.
That's excellent. I mean, I really agree with the idea of people taking time with it, doing maybe, as you're saying, just for breakfast first, taking the time. I think you're right. A lot of people, if they try and force themselves to do something they're not ready for yet, they're not comfortable with, because they want this quick result or whatever it is, then they're likely to fall boomerang back or kind of start to hate it a little bit, like they're not
Yeah.
enjoying it anymore, and they're forcing themselves to do it, but inside they don't want to do it, and it becomes a bit of a conflict for people.
Well, we're like kids. We want what we can't have.
Right.
And if we're telling ourselves, you can't have this, you are going to want it big time, you know. So I'm doing
Right,
a
good
strategy
point, good point.
where I'm just telling myself I can have anything. If I want potato chips right now, I could eat it. But most of the time I don't want it. And because I know I can eat it, it's out there.
Right.
It's not going to go away. There's no diet police.
So when people say to you, what are you allowed to eat in your diet, you say, well, I'm allowed to eat anything.
Yeah, basically. I just don't want to because
Yeah.
I want to feel good.
Yeah.
And I ask myself every meal or every day, like, how do I want to feel tomorrow? And I want to feel happy and vibrant and energized and positive.
Yep.
And so
Absolutely,
that's
yeah.
what I need to eat in order to feel that way. And it's so much more important to me than 30 seconds of taste. And my taste buds have changed, so the old stuff doesn't even taste as good as it used
Right,
to anymore. So
right.
it's like, I love the new stuff.
Let me ask you about something as well. I know that this is something I've been thinking about, that the mindset and all that stuff is important as well. And I know that you teach about the law of attraction, you teach about visualization. How important do you think that all is? And can you share with us some tips of what you use or what you have used in the past to try and use those tools you've used to help you with this process?
So do you mean diet related or just lifestyle?
Well,
and
I guess anything
Yeah,
related,
anything? Okay.
but also, what advice would you give for someone specifically with diet with this?
Right. So I would say your food matches your vibration. And imagine that when you're ill, well, basically I believe a lot in law of attraction, then that what you send out is what you're going to get back. And that we're, like, thoughts and our feelings and emotions are emitting a frequency, and that frequency is going to attract something similar. So whatever we think and feel is going to match, basically. And if we're constantly focused on problems, then it's going to match. So how I technically got ill was just by focusing on, oh, this is wrong, and now this is wrong. And I was Googling all my symptoms and everything that was wrong. And then I just got more and more ill because I felt like, oh, I'm so ill. And universe says, well, you're ill, you want more illness? It's just like 1 = 1. It doesn't say 1 + 1 = 2. It's like just 1 = 1. It's so simple, but it's so hard at the same time.
Yeah.
So I realized that that's how it worked. And so back to the emotions. So we have all these emotions during the day, all these thoughts, and they have a frequency. And so if you start to realize what frequency you're sending out, that's going to match the food that you're eating. And so fruit is so high in water, is a really high frequency, and it's matching like good mood and feeling healthy. And so if you're able to raise your vibration deliberately by focusing on the good stuff in life, your happy thoughts and feelings, emotions, you will slowly tune yourself to a place where you can attract this high vibrational food. But when you eat the cooked food, it's going to numb you. You cannot feel your emotions as much. And that's why people like it. It's like so much emotional stuff. When I started this diet, I had an emotional detox as well. And I was just crying, and I was euphorically happy, and then crying, and it was like, whoa, complete
Wow.
roller coaster. And today I'm just generally happy and stable.
Great.
And I think by knowing about law of attraction and slowly just learning to use it, you can create a magical life for yourself. So, yeah, how can I explain it? Instead of focusing on what is, I start to ask the most important question, and that is, what would I like?
Right.
Every morning, that's the question I start with. What would I like? And I sit back and visualize. It's like, oh, I want this day to be like this if I could decide and everything was possible. And then I imagine my future life. What would I like? Oh, I would like this and this and that. And so many people are not used to thinking ahead because we're limited by what is. We're so limited by reality. And I think it's so important to let go of reality and know that anything is possible if you stop putting the limits on it. Like, I would never have guessed that I would be eating fruit and living in Thailand for 4 or 5 months every year and be healthier now than I was when I was 18 maybe. So, and coming from complete opposite, you know. Anything is possible, but I couldn't believe it at the time.
Right.
And now I'm like just letting go of the house.
Right.
And just say that's up to the universe. How it's going to come about is not my job. I'm only supposed to sit down and think, what would I like? And then hold, the most important key in this is hold the feeling of what you would like as if you have it already.
Wow.
And if you can hold the feeling and not worry about the how, and you hold the feeling every day, it will have to manifest, because that's 1 equals 1. It's a magnet. It just attracts that which is like itself to itself.
Yep.
And the emotion is the key.
Yep. Yep.
And if you're holding fear every day, you're just going to attract more fearful situations. If you're holding contentment, you're going to have a pretty content life. If you're holding the feeling of hopefulness, you're going to have more happy things coming up. And if you're constantly focusing on joy and fun and you're feeling super happy, you're going to get more happy things. So we have way more control over this life than we think. But most people just haven't woken up to that fact, and they don't know how to use it.
Excellent.
But, yeah.
Thanks a lot for that, Louise. That's going to be helpful to a lot of people. Now, on the other side of it, what kind of mistakes do you see people make? And maybe we'll go into as well, what bad advice or bad information do you see out there? But firstly, maybe some of the mistakes that people commonly make.
Definitely undereating.
Right.
That's the number one. Like, they eat 2 bananas and an apple for breakfast and think, oh, I'm full. And what they don't realize is, like, fruit is probably 80% water.
Yeah.
And so the portion sizes have to be 3 times as big, right?
Right, right.
And then people, they lose weight and they get tired.
Let's keep going.
Yeah, so people, they lose weight and they get tired. And they start binging and craving other food because they're basically hungry, and they can't sleep at night because they're low in calories. So trying to get people to eat enough is probably the biggest psychological challenge, I think. And how you do that, how you transition in a way so that you get enough without like overeating, and there's a lot of tricks there.
Sure.
And the other struggle I see people having is socially.
Yep.
So they don't have any social strategies, and they feel so much that they're wrong and they're being judged, and that they cannot no longer have a social life. And that is so not true. You just gotta know how to deal with people, deal with all their questions and worries, and then fit in without like provoking their weird questions. Because you just don't want the discussions. Like,
excellent.
Yeah.
Another thing that really follows on from that for me is misinformation that's out there, or bad information, or and not necessarily people mean to give bad information, but in your experience you might have found that it's not right or it doesn't work for people. What were you concerned about out there?
I have a lot of coaching clients that insist on taking fish oil, for example.
Right. Yeah.
and they're so worried, what if they don't get their omegas? And what I found is that it's not the amounts of omega-3 that makes a difference, it's getting the balance right.
Yes.
So on a fruits and veggies raw diet, you're going to get tons of omega-3, and so you don't need to supplement with extra. And that's a big misconception for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people would maybe ask you, you know, with how extreme your situation was, did you go into fasting or cleansing or all these extreme things that sometimes people do? A lot of people are getting into that now. Did you do any of that at all?
Actually, no. Like, I've done 1, 2, 3, maybe 4-day fasts, water fasts, but that's it.
Right.
I did everything with the raw fruits and diet.
Amazing, amazing.
Fruits and veggies diet, yeah.
That's really interesting, because obviously a lot of people seem to like go to these extremes, but that's great to hear. Let's go quickly into where you've went to from there. I know you've written books, you do coaching, you help people, you put out a lot of free information online. How did that transition happen? How did you get into all that?
Yeah, so that was actually like quite quickly after I started the diet. I came across Frederick Patenaude, and he had this Do What You Love University, and he just said, well, make an ebook and sell it online and earn some money.
Sure.
And so I just thought, yeah, I'm gonna make an ebook about this. So I made my Get Started guide, which is now for free both in English and Danish on my website. And yeah, he just inspired me to make an online business selling this information, because I thought, if this is really working the way I'm experiencing it, this is insane that it's not out there.
Yes,
like, it's literally my duty to spread this message. And I could never look myself in the eyes if I didn't. And imagine how many people I could help, because there's so many desperate people out there who have no other place to go. Like, the doctors just tell them, nah, sorry, we can't help you, or you have to stick on this medication forever. And I just slowly found it fun, and you know, I like to design, I like to write, and then I thought, okay, I'm going to package everything I know in a book. And I created a book publishing deal in Danish.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just a funny story. Like, I wanted to make a green smoothie ebook, and then I spoke to somebody in television, and they were like, we're using this publisher. And I called her up, and she's like, yeah, come in, have a meeting. And I told her about this green smoothie ebook, and she asked me, do you have anything else you want to do? And I'm like, I have this big idea for a book in Danish about my story and how you heal naturally. She's like, write it.
Oh, great.
And I'm like, okay. And so I went to Thailand, and I wrote it, and I sent it to her, and she's like, this is too big, we have to make it 2 books. So I just written too much. And then it ended up becoming 2 books in Danish called Naturally Well. And I hope one day to translate it into English, but not yet, sorry. And so it started from there, because then that was advertised in newspapers, and yeah, people just read the book and were like, wow, this works, we got healed from this and that, and my YouTube channel grew, and my website grew, and everything. So it's just like, I think since 2010 or 11, that's when I started.
Excellent, excellent.
And it's just been growing ever since.
And how do people find out more about you, and if they want to contact you and so on, how do they do that?
So my name is Louise, and I eat fruit, so I'm Fruity Louise on all the social media. And then on my Danish website, it's rask på raw, raskpaaw.dk, and the English one is fruitylou.com. So
excellent.
That's the easiest, I think.
And you're also doing some, well, let's go into the Fresh Food Festival.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the first ever fruit festivals really that was happening in the world, run by Peter, or it started by some other people, then Peter took it over.
Yeah, actually no, Peter was the first to start it. Yeah,
okay.
Together with another Swedish guy.
Right.
So they started it in Sweden.
Yeah.
And
that was a beautiful, amazing event. I went to it about 4 or 5 times. Lots of great people there. And you were running it for a couple of years. I know that was challenging.
Yeah.
So how did you feel that experience was for you? And
well, basically, I went, like, the summer I went raw. The festival had just been there. And I was like, oh no, I so wanted to go. And then the next year I definitely went. and I loved it. And I thought, I have to go every year. So I went every single year, and I like got to know Peter really well. And then he decided to move back to Czech Republic with his new wife, and he kind of just asked me, Louise, do you want to take over? I'm like, I don't know how to run a festival, but I was the only one in Denmark like doing anything about stuff like this. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll do it. And I'd never done anything similar, never. And you know, Ronnie, how challenging it is to run a festival. But it was a steep learning curve, but I did it, and it was easy because he'd done it before, in a sense. So I was taking over something that was already out there. But it was fun, but it was also super, super stressful. So I think I did it for 3 years in a row. And at the end of it, I was starting to see my health decline. I had gray hair and overgrowth of candida. I was super bloated. I had dark circles under my eyes, and like my health was just deteriorating because of stress, basically, and like financial stress and overwork and just and so it came to a point where I just thought, no, I have to stop this. Like my health is the most important thing I have. And then Peter took over and ran it from home, so to speak, and now he's stopping it as well.
But you're doing retreats now, help with Peter as well, or in those places? Yeah.
So what we found out is like, let's make something that's smaller scale for a whole week, where people can come and learn how to prepare the food and just completely be like immersed in this beautiful nature and calm vibration with yoga and meditation and just a full experience for a week with smaller people, where we teach every day and we connect with people, and we have food demos and lectures on health and diet, and I think it's a different experience, but it's you learning way more, in a sense, because you leave there and have new skills, and just you've met other people who are doing it, and you're just way more informed and calm and balanced in feeling confident about doing this. So we do 2 retreats, one in Danish and one in English, and you can go to fruitretreat.com and learn more if you want to know about that. And a little thing about this is that if the coronavirus keeps shutting down airports, of course we will cancel this year, but for now we're still planning on going ahead. So.
And you've been at the UK Fruit Fest, and I think you're going to come back this year as well.
I've been every year except one.
Oh, right,
every single year,
And
I'd love
anything you want to share about that, or your experience there? Or?
Yeah, so once I started going to the Danish festival, I was like, this is so much fun, and where can I go? And then you started the English one, and I was like, I just had to go. I knew I had to go, because it's the highlight of the year that just really makes me happy. And you kind of meet your friends from around the world. So I have friends from all over that I see more than my friends back home, because they're at all the festivals.
Right.
And it's like such an amazing community, and the thing you get from a festival is just, I can't describe it in any other way than just joy and fun and bliss, and it's amazing. And of course also lots of knowledgeable speakers and stuff, and it's amazing venue you have, like out by the lake, and great speakers, and I can highly recommend the UK Fruit Festival for sure. That's why I've been coming back every year.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, you've shared with us an amazing story, Louise. I'm really glad that you were so open about it and a lot of your experiences, and it's great that you're helping so many people around the world. What's your kind of next goal, your dream? What are you doing next?
Yeah, so my next passion is to create video courses. So I want to package all the knowledge I have in various areas, both spiritually, about craving strategies and social strategies, and about how to do the diet and various diseases and stuff like that. So I've started now, and I've made one course in Danish so far called Fruit Diet for Beginners, and then I'm going to do that in English, and just continue to make more and more video courses.
Brilliant.
So that people can go and access all of this information whenever they're ready to hear it.
Excellent.
That's my big passion, a big library of information.
And have you got any last words of wisdom for our viewers and listeners out there?
I would say to follow your passion and your gut feeling, and stay happy. Like, just follow your bliss, and that's going to guide you to the best outcome in life.
Excellent.
So never do things because you have to. Do them because you want to, and it's going to give you way better results.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Louise. And
Very welcome.
for everyone out there, if you want to find out more about Louise, find her online at FruityLou on
FruityLou.com.
social channels.
Yeah, also, and FruityLou.
And your different websites, FruityLou.com and the Danish website. I didn't quite grasp her off.
No, don't worry.
I used to have one of your T-shirts. I used to really like it, and I think I've lost it. But and yeah, we fully recommend Louise if you're looking for someone to help you with all this, with her coaching or different things. Go and check that out. And if you want to come and meet us at the Fruit Festival this year in the UK, go to fruitfest.co.uk/registration and check that out. Thank you very much for watching and listening today. You've been watching the Love Fruit podcast. Feel free to share this with other people. Comment, give us some feedback, give us a rating if you can, and we'll join you in the next episode. Thank you very much.